This isn't just any kind of bread. It is homemade whole wheat bread with the best recipe that we have come across, and we will show you how easy it is to make it with a good recipe. Howdy folks, I am Martha, and Dorothy and I welcome you to Hirschberger's Miracle Homestead. And the reason we are making this whole wheat bread, if you've been with us before, you know who Buddy is. If this is your first time, he is our special needs brother. He's actually my twin brother, and we have the privilege to care for him. He has recently been diagnosed as a diabetic, and the doctor is wonderful in working with us that we can control it by diet and some nutritional supplements. So far, it has worked out. We tried different recipes. There was a number of recipes that had a mix of the whole wheat flour and the white flour, and we wanted whole wheat only. So we found this recipe, and it's a winner. So we want to share it with you now. We've been using it for a while. I'm going to try to give detailed instructions along if you are new to the kitchen, that you'll be able to put this bread together for yourself. And if you're experienced in the kitchen, you might pick up some tips. I don't know, but either way, we are going to put this bread together. So let's come in and go across the ingredients. Over here, both of these are the whole wheat flour. They come in at two different places. Then we have avocado oil, honey. This represents warm water, yeast, Redmond's real salt, plain Greek yogurt, and wheat gluten. All right, we're going to be here, there, in the workroom today, making the bread. And then from the workroom, we'll come back out here to loaf it out. Here I have the big mixing bowl to our big mixer, which is in the workroom. And we will get it loaded down before we go in there. We'll start out with the one batch of the whole wheat flour and the yeast and the warm water. I usually just get the hot water straight from the spigot, as hot as it'll go, because till it sits here just a minute or two before we pour it in the big pot there, why, it'll be perfect temp. One thing we do different on this recipe versus a lot of other recipes is we measure it out by weight. And this measures by pound as well as a gram. All these are pre-measured, and in case you don't have a scale, I told Dorothy I'm going to measure the ingredients by cup and tablespoon, and we'll have that included in the description. The only thing I don't have measured yet is the water, because it's supposed to be toasty warm water, and if it was sat here through all this, it would chill down too much. So we'll put the empty pot on here. I turn the scale on with the picture on it so everything reads 0. So when I put it back on, it'll pick up from 0 up to, I need 1,965 grams of water. All right, this is 8 cups. We're going to see how close we are to that, and then add to it 1,850, 1,965. There we go. Now I'll meet you on that side with a wooden spoon and a spatula. All right, the largest amount of the whole wheat flour we're putting in the pot. And the yeast. And I'll just give this a quick stir using my wooden spoon. You can use whatever. And then the water. Then with a wooden spoon, I just mix this together. And then with a spatula, I'm going to scrape the spoon and then around the sides of the pot. And now we cover it up, and this is just a tablecloth. It's nice and big and just drapes around the whole thing. And we will let it sit here for 15 minutes. It'll be interesting when we come back and look at that bread dough to see how the yeast has activated it. And it does a pretty good job, I will say that. Normally when I make it that I'm not filming, I do that first step there, and then in this 15-minute time, I can measure out the other ingredients. But I wanted everything laid out for the beginning of the video. And also a tip, the honey will stick to dishes, and I actually oiled the measuring cup before I put it in. Normally I measure the avocado oil and then zero out the scale. With that it's all zeroed out, and then I pour the honey into the oil. Then when I put it in there, it's not that sticky mess. But anyway, that's just a tip. We still make a sourdough bread at times that we used to always have on hand for Buddy's toast and sandwiches, which he loved his egg sandwiches. And once in a while we'll still treat him to a toasted ham, egg, and cheese sandwich or something like that. But Dorothy found a crustless quiche that we do have a video on that, and that does not have a crust to it, and it's just a bunch of goodiness in that quiche, and he loves the quiche. So we're so grateful for that. He is not hard to cook for. So all right, we will be back at the end of the 15 minutes. By the way, this will make 8 loaves. So if you want less than that, if you want 4 loaves, half it. If you just want 2 loaves, half it, and then half that. Quarter it, in other words. We are back here. We are ready to proceed with the bread, and we will be adding the rest of this stuff. I just thought I'd let you know what we're going to be doing before we take the cloth off the dough. I'll just slide this over, and we'll get it as we need it. This is 1.5 cups of flour that I'm going to take with me to the workroom where the mixer is, and then add it as we need it. So far, I've always needed it. I felt like just dumping it right in from get-go, but so here we go. And there it is. You can see it has definitely risen. I'm going to fold up the tablecloth and get it out of the way. The rest of the ingredients, it doesn't really matter what order you put it in. Just whatever suits your fancy at the time. This is a wheat gluten. Redmond's real salt. Plain Greek yogurt. Avocado oil. Honey. And before I add the second flour, I'm just going to give this a little mix together. Doesn't have to be mixed all the way in because the mixer is going to do the majority of it. And the rest of the flour there. And now it's time to go to the workroom. Handles and measuring cups come in handy. I just put it across the edge of the mixing bowl and brought it in. Get this on the mixer. And we'll be using the dough hook. Putting the dough hook on. Before I get going, if you don't have a mixer and you do it by hand, it was suggested to knead it for close to 10 minutes. But once we have the flour to it that we want, then we'll knead it for 5 minutes with a mixer. So we'll bring it up, start it on low.
We appreciate our subscribers and those who watch our videos very much. You all are very important to us. And if you would be interested in receiving more content from us, you may want to check out our memberships that we now offer. For further information about memberships, you can click on the join button that's down beside the subscribe button, and that will give you further details.
What we're looking for now is so the dough doesn't stick to the side of the mixing bowl. So I'm going to add more flour, about half of this. Now here's where it might splash a little bit. Okay, it's still sticking, so I'm going to add the rest of it. I should have come in and checked it before because it's still sticking at the bottom just a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit more flour and let it go for a couple minutes yet while I finish setting up out there in the kitchen. Okay, that's pulling away like it should now, so there you go, that's better. Okay, we'll let it mix for a little bit like that now. I have it here. I'm going to get the hook out first, and then we will dump the dough out. I found the easiest way to do this is just let it, I have a light dusting of flour on the countertop, and then just pull this out onto that. When I was out here getting ready for this step right here, I wonder how many of you saw that the dough wasn't pulling away from the mixer like I said it's supposed to. And wish you could have told me. But anyway, that just shows that a recipe doesn't have to be followed down to the very dot. But if something happens, why then you just go with the flow. All right, I sprayed the bread pans. I changed the scale from grams to pound. Each piece of dough is going to weigh right at 1.5 pounds. Okay, we're going to cut it in half this way and then half and half again, and that gives us 4 loaves on each side. So if you have a bench scraper, you can use that. We don't have one, but this works mighty fine. And we're just going to come down the center, cutting it in half as we go. This right here is thinner than this, so I'll come toward the center just a little bit, and then as we weigh it, if we need to adjust the dough, why we can. And this did not do a clean cut, but at least it's enough that it's an easy pull apart. All right, let me set this on. I'm going for 1.5 pounds. All right, that's close enough for all of them. Now I can remove the saran wrap. Makes for easy cleanup just to have that covered with saran wrap. We'll cut it off. I'm going to pound it a little bit, shaping it into the size of the bread pan. And yes, these are well loved. They've been used for years. Trying to get rid of any air that might be in there. Now just pressing it out. Then we're going to take a fork and come down in it about 6 or 7 times. Once again, trying to ensure air is out. So the first one is done, 7 more to go. And now comes a new to me thing of baking bread. Usually we would let it rise and preheat the oven and then put the bread in. For this, you put the bread in the oven cold. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in the oven now, and then I will tell you what the rest of the process is going to be. I know you only saw 4 loaves here in front of me just now, but the reason is there's an oven behind the camera, and before I move the camera back from being right up at the countertop, I put 4 loaves in there and then 4 loaves in here. It'll rise for about an hour. And then the strangest part of all to me was starting the oven with the bread in there. And to me, you always take the bread out and then put the bread in when it's preheated. But no, you leave the bread in there from get-go from a cold oven. And as I said, I'm so used to preheating the oven, so the last time we made it, I decided, well, one of the batches, we're going to start from a cold oven, and then over there, I pulled the bread out and preheated the oven. And the dough is fragile, and movement and all can make it fall a little bit, and that's what happened. So we decided, yes, they knew what they were talking about when they said start from a cold oven, because it's in there and it does not have to be moved until it's baked and ready to come out. So I have my timer set already for an hour, and we'll be back then to see what it looks like. All right, we're going to take a peek at the bread. It's been an hour. It does not rise a lot after the heat gets to it. So what you see there is what we're going to get. Okie dokie, bread is coming out of the oven. All right, we have 8 beautiful loaves here. And there is a difference in ovens. While that was on 350, the one behind you was on 335. So there is a difference in ovens, and just experiment with yours and find out the temperature that your bread likes on your oven. Okay, the next thing is we're going to take some butter and brush the tops. Well, you can brush the tops now, or you can dump it out and put it on the cooling rack and then brush the tops. If you brush the tops now, Dorothy says that, and she's right, that the edge of the pans get a little bit more greasy because of the butter. So if you dump them out first, then that takes care of that situation. And while I think about it, the wheat flour, I'll show you the bag. We do not mill our own flour, in case you were wondering. I forgot to mention that earlier. We use the King Arthur 100% whole wheat flour, and that's what we use. Sometimes I can flip it on out, and other times it's just easier to dump it and turn. Sort of halfway. There we go. Okay, I have some softened butter here, and we'll just brush the tops with it. That helps the top to stay soft, plus it puts a nice, pretty shine to it. The only thing left to do yet is let it sit here and cool and enjoy the aroma that it puts in the air. And then after they're completely cooled, we'll bag them up. And this bread freezes very, very well. So 6 loaves here will be going into the freezer, and then we often pull 2 loaves out at a time and use that up and then get the other 2 out, so on and so forth, and then just repeat the process again. Because we do try to keep this on hand for Buddy. He loves toast, and he loves the whole wheat toast, so we try to keep this on hand for him. And we can enjoy it as well then. We are going to cut into this loaf of bread so you can see what the inside looks like. They are all cooled and ready to be bagged, but we're going to do that first. You can use an electric knife or one with the serrated edge. And so we're just going to gently cut through. Are you ready? And there we go. And there we have it, folks. What a beautiful slice of bread, just waiting to be enjoyed. So I'm just going to push this aside while we bag up these and get them ready for the freezer. These 2 loaves is what we'll keep out. We just use a twist and tie bags. And with the butter that we put on the top, gets your fingers greasy, and I don't like that, so I don't touch the bread at all while I'm bagging it. Because I just, with that, pick it up on end, put the bag over it. I didn't have to touch it, so that means no greasy fingers. I was excited about showing you how I do it with no greasy fingers. I forgot to tell you how to do it at this point. I just kind of hold it to me and press in, try to get the air out. And then just give it a twirl. And with the twisty, and there we have it. Alrighty, folks. As I said, it freezes very, very well. Oh, I don't have this ready for the freezer yet, but I will show you how I do that. Usually I have the wrap that I can pull it toward me, but I want you all to see what we're doing, so I will turn it sideways. You notice I have more at the end of the twisties on them in the back here, and that's for a reason. I just think it puts some more cushion at the twisty and bring that up. It's ready for the freezer. Okie dokie, if you're going to put it in the freezer, we recommend putting it in once it's cooled and wrapped. Go ahead and get it in the freezer rather than wait till the next day or whatever. Alrighty folks, if you all make this bread, which the recipe will be in the description, we hope you all enjoy it as much as it's enjoyed in this household.
This bread is so delicious, and it's always a great feeling to know that we are restocked again.
And now for the golden thought. Stress makes you believe that everything has to happen now. Faith reassures you that everything will happen in God's timing. And that's two totally different ways of facing a situation. Things that you feel like has to happen right now, and it's not happening. But realizing that things will happen in God's timing. God is never too late, but He's always on time. We hope you've enjoyed today's video. We hope you've been blessed, encouraged, and inspired. And until next time, God bless.